NGX, wherever you reside, we're happy that you're here. This is the live MetaMask and Sei restream we got going on. We're going to be talking about Sei's network integration within MetaMask. I'm super excited. My name is Michael Kay. I'm the Senior BD Manager at Consensus and also on the product safety team at MetaMask. I'm going to hand it off to Justin to introduce himself from the Sei side.
Hey, thanks for having me, Michael. I am Justin. I'm Executive Director over here at the Sei Development Foundation. Have been now in the ecosystem for the last year and a half. Have been in the broader crypto ecosystem for the last 9 years. So really excited to share some insights and talk a little bit more about Sei.
Yeah, this is super exciting. I can't wait to go over some of the crazy different native integrations now that we have with Sei Network. And I think it's been a long time coming. Sei has really been making the moves and making a lot of different news in the market when it comes to crypto and how your chain is expanding and everything that you guys are building. So it's super exciting to have you on this call and to really talk about how easy it is to enable Sei within your MetaMask wallet and to tap into all the different parts of the Sei ecosystem. So let's do a little brief intro on the Sei blockchain and a little bit of history on how you got to this point.
Yeah. So, taking it all the way back to the beginning, Sei was really born out of the idea of creating more open and accessible financial rails. So Jay, who is one of the co-founders of Sei, was a core engineer at Robinhood, working on the Robinhood product at the time when all of the GameStop and GME drama unfolded, right, where retail trading was shut off. And he said, hey, I really joined Robinhood to kind of open up financial access for the average investor. And yet here we are getting a call from the major high frequency trading firms and now kind of shutting down access, right? And so he said, why don't I go out and build a Robinhood, but fully on chain? The other co-founder of Sei Labs, Jeff, was at Goldman Sachs and then later Coatue, and saw the same problem kind of from the other side of things as an investor. And so they came together to build what was originally going to be sort of this on-chain Robinhood. What they realized after kind of going down that path was that there was not actually any existing infrastructure in the market that could really service something like an on-chain Robinhood. Things were too slow. They were too expensive, right? And the user experience was just too poor to really onboard the masses. And so what they came up with was this idea of, instead of building the exchange itself, instead building a base layer, a layer one chain that could service these needs. Now, flash forward just a few years from then, and Sei is now one of the largest ecosystems in terms of users. One of the top 5 in terms of things like daily actives, weekly actives, etc. There is well over 600 million in TVL on the chain. And we've seen a massive upswing in quality founders, quality applications launching in the ecosystem. So really exciting times for Sei and the ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see because I think originally Sei was not fully EVM, right? There was like a hybrid path that was going down, and now you've fully transitioned into being a fully EVM network. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for the greater part of the last year or so, Sei supported both EVM and CosmWasm, which is Cosmos's environment. What happened shortly after the launch of Sei's EVM is we saw an increasing trend of more and more users using the EVM and fewer really onboarding to the Cosmos side, right? If you think about the history of blockchains, EVM is the most tested, the most widely used, most widely researched, environment. And so what started to happen is really that we saw something like 99% plus of the users using exclusively EVM. And there was unnecessary kind of complexity that was coming from, the dual environment system, right? So the community actually put up a vote, which was called SIP3, which was passed just a few months back, which basically kicked off the plan to deprecate the CosmWasm side of the chain and instead move to an EVM-only model, which would add, more opportunity for developers to build without the complication that comes with a dual, VM environment.
Yeah.
So that's still
that's
in
huge, by the
process.
way.
Yeah, that's still in process. But you've already seen a number of teams start to make that full transition. And at this point, the majority of apps on Say are EVM only.
Right. Yeah. And it's been amazing seeing like the progression over time. And I myself now, even my mom, she uses the same network. And when I told her, hey, this supports now inside of MetaMask, obviously she was so happy. She's now using her Sei tokens and connecting to dApps using her MetaMask account, which is huge. Kind of like making it easier for the entire space to be able to interact with the network. And bringing up some numbers, I think recently I saw that there was over 50 million wallets that are now on the Sei network that have enabled themselves, and there's also a million wallets that are daily active. Some crazy numbers that we're seeing, especially after the MetaMask implementation. If you could give us some insight on that, because the traction that's been kicking off with everything that you guys have been launching over the compatibility you guys have been launching over the past couple of months has really been positive.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, there was an explosion of sort of activity after adding this EVM support to the network. Say went from maybe a few thousand daily active wallets to, the other day, well over a million. At this point, there's something like 14 million, I think, monthly active wallets, which is at least what I saw, I think, this morning on DApp Radar. And so, yeah, I mean, there's been an explosion in growth, and a lot of it is coming from obviously areas like DeFi where we kind of have our roots, but also, the consumer area, right? Things like games and social networks that are really kind of taking this performance and really moving it to a new stage, right? Which is, consumer applications that go beyond pure, dexes or other types of trading applications.
Yeah, I've seen a few things that Say has been doing on the timeline. Some of them specifically relative to stables and what you guys are doing with USDC, and also related to gaming. I see Say gaming all over the place. And as you know, the blockchain space when it comes to gaming over the past 5 years has been pretty lackluster. So it's awesome to see Say like stepping up and really giving that utility for gamers. If you could talk a little bit about both of those things, the stablecoin side, a little bit of the activations there, and then maybe some of the games that are building on the platform.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's pretty clear, when you look at PMF across the broader crypto industry, that stablecoins are one of the products that has found the most PMF, right, of anything anywhere, right? And by PMF, to be clear, I mean product market fit, right? You have real users using stablecoins daily. They have an inherent reason to use it. And ultimately, they're doing so not because they think that there's some like financial incentive to do so. It's really just because it's the easiest way to spend digital dollars, right? And so we've seen an explosion of kind of interest and usage of stablecoins on Say. We recently saw the launch of USDC natively on the chain, and within, I think it was like the first 2 weeks, had surpassed a bunch of the legacy names in terms of stablecoin issuance on the chain. Something like $160 million worth of USDC has been minted in that same time period. And look, I think we think that Sei is the best place to build stablecoin products. It's the fastest and cheapest chain. It has that full EVM compatibility to it, and ultimately, it has now a big user base of end users who are actively using the chain already.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that for me, like seeing what you guys are doing in terms of transactions per second, the cost of these transactions. Now you're using this terminology of like giga Say. If you could tell the audience a little bit more about that, because Say has been through this progressive version one. I think we're at version two right now, and then there's version three coming. If you could give some insight on that as well, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So like you hinted there, like, yeah, Say today, 400 millisecond time to finality, which is the fastest, across the industry, and transaction fees as low as, 0.00004 cents if I got enough zeros in there. So you can send something like 10,000 transactions at current prices for something like, a few cents. And so what
Huge.
that means is that, yeah, the performance is an order of magnitude better than our nearest competitors, is an order of magnitude cheaper than using our nearest competitors for similar transactions. And so we think that the ecosystem's in a great spot. Obviously, like you said, not just for stable coins, but things like consumer applications as well. Um,
Yeah.
Say today, yeah, supports something like 12,500 TPS. With the Giga upgrade, which is on the horizon, you will see, say, really like explode into something like 200,000 plus TPS, maintaining that same time to finality that we're famous for, and equally low, if not lower fees. So I think, across the board, we're seeing a lot of interest in, higher and higher throughput blockchains, and we continue to kind of push the envelope in the Sei ecosystem on how you can maximize performance.
Yeah, and that's massive because you're talking about this massive amount of throughput, insanely cost-effective transactions, good for consumers, good for people that are building, developers coming in. I mean, I know that the stock market's apparently going on chain, and there's also these different moving parts for perps trading and terminal trading. So it's really cool to see, like, it's kind of like prepped and the prime network to tap into if you're a developer at this point. What are some resources that you guys have when it comes to developers building with Sei?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a ton of open source, tooling and infra. At this point, you have major names like MetaMask and Infura, right, that are supporting the network as well on sort of the on the user side and on the developer side. And really, kind of the goal is, rather than saying to people, "Hey, here is the specific product that you have to use in order to use the chain," it's rather like, "What's your favorite EVM product for building apps, for interacting with." Your wallet, et cetera, and having that available to users. And so MetaMask is just one step of many in making sure that users and developers can feel comfortable using what they already know and love, and don't kind of have to start from scratch on some untested piece of tech.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge, and let's jump right into it with what Sei has done inside of MetaMask. So if y'all aren't aware yet, you can actually select Sei from the default network list inside of MetaMask. We have a very curated set of networks that are there, and Sei is now easily addable into your existing MetaMask mobile application as well as the MetaMask extension. And that's just the start. Enabling the network is one thing, but also implementing native functions like swapping, bridging, ramping. These are all crucial to the adoption of this ecosystem for more users. And we also have another piece that we're going to showcase in a little bit, which is the discovery page for Sei Network inside of MetaMask Portfolio. This is a place where users can go to basically discover everything, all the moving parts about Sei in one place, whether it's most swapped tokens, dApps, games, upcoming events. All these different moving components, instead of going out and doing your own research, are able to be streamlined for the user in one place. So to tell your friends and family members, hey, you want to jump into Sei, all it takes is a few clicks. I mean, that's like a massive game changer considering the large user base that MetaMask has. So let's tap into that a little bit. There's a few different a deep dives that we want to get into, but there's three main areas. Let's start off with the consumer side of things for the social and the gaming aspect of what Sei is bringing to the table. Some of the advantages for consumer trading, if you want to go over as far as a deep dive into the social aspect. I know that there's social is starting to be like a big thing, and there's a lot of information being thrown back and forth. I know that Sei is also on the Cato Yaps board. I've earned some yaps from talking about Sei natively, even though I'm not really farming Cato or anything like that. But if you want to do a little dive into that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, like we kind of talked about before, Sei, fastest, cheapest chain. And so what we see is that there are a number of applications that are enabled by Sei that would just really not be possible anywhere else. And so, a great example of one of these applications is something like Overheard, which you can find in the MetaMask portfolio page. But Overheard is a social app. It is built to really operate at Web 2 scale, right? And allows users to onboard with a username and password, or signing in with their Google account or their Facebook account through Privy. Get airdropped, enough in gas fees so that they never have to worry about sending any tokens directly to that wallet if they're not a crypto native user. and ultimately they can earn USDC simply for posting quality content and having that those views be having that content be viewed by others, right? And so, I think if you look at the evolution of on-chain social, because of how the user experience is on most other chains, is really difficult to build products that genuinely feel Web2 native, right? Where users don't have to have crypto already in their wallet, right? Where they don't have to understand, how to sort of on and off ramp or how gas works or any of that. Instead, can just get in and use it like they would any other Web2 product, but take advantage of the benefits of Web3 in the back end. And so in the case of Overheard, building a product like that on any other chain would either, kind of destroy the user experience and make it so that, they would have to be waiting, multiple seconds or minutes for their posts on the app to, go live, or would be too expensive, right? Each post would be prohibitively expensive for the Overheard team to sponsor on users' behalf. And what that means is that users would then have to deposit directly into the app, which adds this layer of friction that most people are not familiar with. And so in the case of Overheard, they've been pretty quiet on crypto Twitter, but yet they have something like 175,000, 200,000 downloads and have, tens of thousands of weekly active users. And they're basically all coming directly from Web2, right? From TikTok, from Instagram, from places like that. And so that's a really sure sign that people are kind of, adapting to this new world, and ultimately that we're able to build apps on Sei that just aren't possible anywhere else.
Yeah, it's really great to see that. There's a lot of projects that are looking for a chain to build on top of, and then when you're making the operating cost of even performing these transactions at a fractions of a penny, that allows these projects to scale a lot quicker, which is huge. So if you are a project that's out there, I highly recommend tapping into the Sei developer documentation and also checking out what the network itself can provide at the network level, because that's insane. The TPS, the cost of transactions, the amount of support that they're provided, and also the now native integration in one of the largest crypto wallets. I mean, you're tapping into such a large user base. It's a win-win for everybody involved: the users, the projects themselves, the ecosystem, the wallet. I mean, it's massive. So great to hear those numbers coming from the SocialFi aspect of things. As far as gaming is concerned, I know that you were talking about this previously when we were talking with each other about a lot of the gaming environment being on mobile. And personally, I've tested out some games over the past few years when it comes to blockchain and crypto. A lot of them were just not fun or engaging, but it's a completely different layout when it comes to Sei. If you want to break down maybe some of the top games that are on the Sei network, and also, maybe some of the mobile games that people could tap into.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think what's really interesting, similar to Overheard about the games on Sei, is the vast majority of the users are not Web3 native users, right? If you look at a lot of the successful games from previous cycles in crypto, it was people who are very familiar with how wallets work. They're very familiar with tokens, right, and the speculation involved with that, et cetera. A lot of the top games on Sei, examples being names like Archer Hunter or Cozy World, or Sugar Senpai, or a lot of these others, were existing games in Web 2. So existing iOS games or Google Play Store games with some of them millions of downloads and millions of users, who have added the benefits of Web 3 on the back end. And so what that means is that these aren't Web3 games. These are games that happen to have Web3 as the infrastructure underlying it. And I think that's kind of the key difference here. If you are trying to build a game specifically for crypto users, it will look very different than a game that is just meant to be fun and addictive in its own right, that happens to combine the benefits of the Web2 world with Web3. And so, we really optimize for games that people know and love already, bring them over to Sei, and then having the user experience be even better, even smoother, and ultimately even more kind of fun and addictive than it was without Web3 Rails. And I think that's the kind of key shift that we needed to see. for gaming to really take off in Web3.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. Building something that's fun and engaging that actually works, and then adding the Web3 element on top of it. I mean, you're going to get a completely different, user response to that, because people are going to actually be playing the game, then seeing that there's this added benefit, this added value from what the blockchain can bring to that video game itself. So that's huge. Really great to hear. I think what we can do moving forward is, let's talk a little bit about what's Sei's vision for the entire Ethereum ecosystem as a whole. Sei being an L1, being one of the fastest networks that are out there. What is the synergy? What is the vision for the years to come? Because seems like it's just a start.
Yeah, I mean, first I'll talk about the kind of overall vision, and then I'll talk a little bit about the EVM. Yeah, I mean, overall vision is to be the decentralized Wall Street, right? The place where you can kind of trade any asset at the speed of light, right? Permissionlessly, without middlemen, and then ultimately, more cost and time effectively than anywhere else. And so, building this, decentralized Wall Street means that, yes, of course, things like DeFi, things like RWAs, things like stablecoins are going to be important. But there's also a lot of other stuff on Wall Street, right? There's gaming firms that there's gaming, public companies that are on Wall Street, right? There's social media companies, right? Like the FANGs, right, of the world. And so, ultimately what this vision ends up looking like is building this sort of, highly performant financial layer that can be used by anyone in the world, with no sort of censorship, and ultimately with ultra high performance. As far as the Ethereum ecosystem, I mean, Sei Labs has the mission of scaling the EVM, and really unlocking some of these things that previously were only possible on, either the Web2 side or in newer ecosystems like Solana or maybe a Sui, right? Building real-time applications with very high throughput, with very low fees, and ultimately allowing developers to take advantage of the best of both worlds, right? The performance of some of these next generation chains, as well as the deep developer tooling and infrastructure and mindshare and reliability of the EVM.
If you're looking to build, if you're a developer, I got to say it, build on Sei, because this is insanely bullish. I mean, there's been a lot of friction over, MetaMask has at this point a 9 to 10-year-old code base. It existed before even non-EVM networks and Solana and even Sei came into the picture. And I think the speed at what Sei is moving at, and the vision that you guys have, it might just be that like ultimate goal of, bringing all these different existing Web2 applications on chain, making this, maybe running some of the perps and trading and the stock market itself on chain, like you're saying, like being that main point of entry, that solid base that all these applications are built on top of, and continuing to run with it. I can't wait for GigaSei, right? Like V3 sounds like it's gonna blow everything else out of the water, even though you guys are already doing that. So I can't even imagine what comes after V3. I'm sure, again, you guys have something cooking in the background that you're not allowed to talk about. But let's talk about something that we are allowed to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to do a review of the Sei discovery page inside of the MetaMask portfolio, which I think users are going to get a lot of value out of for discovering all the moving parts for Sei. Let me share my screen here. So inside of MetaMask and MetaMask portfolio, you now have the Sei ecosystem hub. And this is directly available if you just go to Discover, Networks, and Sei. And it basically brings everything about the Sei ecosystem into one place. So you can check out the most swapped tokens. You can actually tap on any of these tokens and directly swap and bridge inside of MetaMask, which is really cool. You can see all the history of that token as well. And there's a couple of other sections, different games, different DeFi protocols, some featured calls to action, as well as a breakdown of different sites and upcoming events. I think, this is just a start, and there's going to be a lot more content added over time. So if you haven't tapped into the Sei ecosystem hub yet, it's super easy. Just jump into MetaMask portfolio, tap on Discover, and you can jump into the Sei network. Justin, anything that you want to talk about when it comes to the ecosystem hub, maybe some of the moving parts that are here, I think it's just super user friendly, and just being able to just have this guardrailed experience instead of going out and doing your own research. As we know, one of the biggest problems to mass adoption is people try to do their own research and they end up getting completely wrecked, scammed, or lead to a fund loss incident by going to a fake website. So being able to have this guardrailed experience, I think, is a massive win for Sei.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think the MetaMask team did a great job kind of curating a number of the top apps in the ecosystem. You can always check out something like Dapp Radar or DeFi Llama for finding new apps on Say, but it's really great to see some of the top ones just kind of listed out in a way that's really accessible, and ultimately allows you to click directly over. So I would definitely say for people to check that out, and check out kind of the rest of the portfolio as well. There's a lot of really interesting things that you can find in there, both for Sei and for the EVM in general. And it really just helps complement the wallet experience that MetaMask already has.
Definitely. I also want to pull up the actual MetaMask wallet, just so we could show people how easy it is to turn on Sei. Let me go ahead and share that screen here. So this is the expanded view in MetaMask, but this is actually running the latest version of the MetaMask extension. If you tap on this new networks layout, you can actually select multiple networks. You will notice that Sei is now a default network, and it's super easy to turn on. You literally just tap it on, and you have full access to those native functions directly in the wallet: sending, receiving, swapping, bridging. It's all here, and we're constantly adding to it. I know that there's a few things that we're cooking in the background that we can't publicly state yet, but there's a lot of things coming when it comes to this native integration. So the fact that you can turn on Sei in a simple click directly inside of the wallet is a massive win for user experience. Previously, users had to manually add the network. There might be some friction of, what assets might be detected. The great thing about Sei now being in MetaMask is that it also has full automatic asset detection. So any of the assets that you have in your Sei wallet, you might have done, functions in another wallet and brought it over to MetaMask over time, will now automatically populate and appear directly inside of your MetaMask and give you those native functions at the same time. So it's super exciting to see just how it's starting off. We have the discovery ecosystem page. We have the ability for users to browse all the dApps and also to perform these native functions in a single click, as opposed to, having to go through that manual input process and then potentially ending up on the wrong website or whatever the case is. So I personally think it was as easy as just telling my mom, "Hey, mom, tap on the network screen. You see Sei there." She's like, "Yeah, I see it." I didn't have to drive over to her house to tell her how to do it. It's that easy to enable Sei within MetaMask.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you guys are running something right now as well where there's a banner, and it makes it even easier. So there's a banner that says something like "Sei is now live on MetaMask." All you do is click that banner, and it'll walk you through exactly how to get set up.
Yeah, we have all these different ways to streamline that experience, show the user how easy it is to turn on, and the fact that it just takes a couple of clicks is massive. So, look, I think we're rounding up at the last couple of minutes of this restream. I think we've put a lot of information for users to digest and really get across. And this is just the beginning for Sei and MetaMask. This has been an awesome collaboration, and I think what's coming down the line, people are not ready for, and it's going to be super awesome. Also helping and watching Sei scale up to V3 to Giga Sei, and really just changing the game when it comes to what a network can do for developers, for users, and just streamlining that experience. So let's wrap it up. I think one of the most important things that we went over is just the concept of how easy it is to turn on Sei, all the different parts that Sei can assist with on the user side, on the developer side, and also for scaling. Do you have any closing thoughts that you want to get across to the users?
Yeah, look, I mean, I know we threw a lot at you guys. If there's a few things you'll take away from today, it's first and foremost, Sei is kind of combining the best of next gen blockchains like Solana, and Ethereum. So the performance, and scalability of something like Solana, with the developer tooling and mind share, and obviously resilience of something like the EVM. And so now with this MetaMask integration, over 100 million new users have access to what is the fastest and cheapest EVM network. And we're super excited to see people test a bunch of things out.
Super exciting. Can't wait to see what's coming. And for everybody, please follow Sei Network on X, follow MetaMask on X. Make sure your notifications are on. We're constantly putting out different updates and making sure that you're aware of what's happening in both of our ecosystems. It's been an amazing restream, Justin, and can't wait. We should do a follow-up one in a few months and see where the network's at and kind of show what these other networks, what Sei is about.
Let's do it, Michael. Appreciate it, man.
See ya.